Welcome to 11 versus 11. I'm Adam Turner. I'm here with Mr. Calcio and the one, the only Mr. Cranks. And we're here to debate, break down, and analyze everything in the USMNT world. All right. Hey, today we have a really special guest with us to break down this past window and the do or die window coming up. And that's the one, the only, the dispossessed Mr. Cranks here with us, Austin Banks himself. What's going on, man? Glad to have you.
Nothing much, guys. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
I gotta say you're a legend across USMNT Twitter. I feel like anyone who's ever missed the game on one of their favorite US players will go straight to your Twitter page to see if you posted up his highlight video. And I gotta say, I live through them, especially when until now I have like every single paid for ESPN Plus, Paramount, Peacock, everything. But when I didn't, I had relied on your highlights. So thank you, man.
Yeah, man. The service that you do for the USMNT community for I don't know why you do it. That's what I want to talk to you about. Like, how did you get into it? When did it start for you? Like just doing the comps? Like, give us a little background on kind of your fandom and kind of how this all evolved.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've been loving the national team pretty much since the '06 World Cup. And I didn't really do anything on the computer until, I don't know, 2017, 2018. And that's when I started to, I did GIFs at first, but it was just for FC Dallas because that's my favorite team. That's where I'm from. But the idea basically came from Adam Bells from Scuffed because he was doing GIFs for, I think, Jonathan Gonzalez for Monterrey. And I was just like, I can do that. I would love to do that for my team, and so I just I asked Adam, how does he do it? He told me how, and it's pretty easy actually. You just you basically need some editing software to do the hard part, and yeah, I just started doing GIFs for FC Dallas, and then it moved to US Men's National Team, and then started doing random players every now and again, and it's definitely gotten a lot easier over time because it was super time consuming at first. I mean, I would be spending 6-7 hours sometimes just on one player, and that's basically a job. So
yeah, that is a job, my friend. Like, it still has to be a lot, man. You come out after games and you've got some national team gives you like every player.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I would say, I really appreciate you guys saying you go to my page and stuff because that's basically why I do it. I want people to see the players. I want fans to see how the game went, and I don't want to give some sort of highlight package or something like that. I'm not trying to blow these players up. I'm just I want you to get an actual taste of the player in the game. And
no, and you do an awesome job because it's you. I mean, you really capture exactly I think the key highlights. It's not always they're good. It's not always just they're bad. It's a good combination. And I feel like, and I'm a huge Serie A fan, so when you do the Weston McKennie stuff, I love it because if I miss the game, and sometimes I rewatch it, I'm like, no, the comp was perfect because you caught it, you caught everything. So in a way, it's like I don't even need to see the game if I wanted to see him. And I mean, I love Juve and I love the Italian team, so I'll go and watch it. But the teams, do I really want to watch the whole match? But I do really want to watch that player, and I feel like. So you give the best of both worlds is, hey, you missed the game. Maybe you actually didn't even want to watch the game or didn't have time. You can watch it and feel like you were part of the game and part of what actually happened. So, no, I appreciate it. And I appreciate it when I kind of just joined the USMT Twitter world and still now love your stuff, man.
Yeah, and anybody who doesn't follow, I mean, I always am shocked that more people aren't following. I'm like, this random, I don't know, journalist has 20,000 followers and you guys
Yeah.
don't want to follow the person who literally puts out 2-minute videos that like package everything you want. Like, it's crazy to me. That's why I always like Cranks. I always push your stuff. I'm always like, what are you guys doing? Like, who's not following this guy? It's insane. But hey, listen, really excited to have you on. Super knowledgeable about the national team. This guy does, is way more than just a dude who puts out a bunch of videos, knows his stuff, knows these players in and out, as somebody who comps them and watches all these, videos over and over and over again. So pumped to have you on, pumped to talk about some stuff. And man, let's dive into, I think, one of the hottest topics over the last month, and that's Christian Pulisic. Where does he currently stand on the national team as we head into, our biggest games, and specifically the Mexico game, the Panama game? Is he a starter? Is he, a super sub like we saw against Honduras? Like, what is the best role for him? And so let's dive into this one. And Crank, since you're the guest, I'll let you kind of kick it off. Where do you feel like CP stands heading into this next window?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, do or die games coming up, big games. You want your big players for those games. And I have to say, Christian Pulisic, you want him to be a starter in these games. Depending on the opponent, obviously, like if it's Mexico, you would definitely want to start him. But yeah, like Honduras, bottom of the group, they Greg probably went in there thinking like, let's give Pulisic a break for this one. But no, I think he's a must starter for must win games.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I think, I'll just kind of like play the devil's advocate here. And maybe Cal, you'll have some of this in your take on it. But like, a lot of people have said, and I don't think it's like a terrible or like, unworthy opinion, that like, hey, he's not performing, which he's not. I agree with that. He has not performed at his best in a while, including the games he had big goals in. He didn't play that well. And there's a very legit take out there that's like, hey, he's not playing that well. Let's give somebody else a shot, or let's, mix it up, or we've played better without him. All those things I think are legit. But for me, I really tend to sway toward what you just said, Cranks, which is like, if it's a big moment, because the thing he has proven is he's ready for big moments, right? If he's, proven the other side, which is like maybe his play is a little bit off, he carries the ball too long, we kind of are a little bit disjointed at times with him, he certainly has shown, hey, I'm going to come up when it matters, right? We saw that at the end of both Mexico games. And so, yeah, I want him on the field at Azteca. I also just don't think there's anyone that team fears more than him, and those fans, right? Like, they fear him. And I think Landon Donovan was kind of the same way back in the day, right? Like, they feared Landon Donovan, right? Like, I think they respected Dempsey, but Donovan just always was like the killer for them. And that's what Pulisic's kind of turning into. So it would be insane to not start him for me. And then I don't know, like, we're coming back home against Panama in the game. And for me, it's like, it's the game. He is the guy. I get that he hasn't performed that well, but like, trust your guy. Trust your guy in the biggest moment. Cal, what do you think?
Man, listen, I want to bring up something actually that I heard, and it's so Pulisic was used last year for Chelsea, for instance, in the super sub role, right? He started a couple games and whatever. He started against Real Madrid and got that goal, but more so than not. And you saw his assist versus Atletico Madrid. He played he's played a lot of games, important matches for Chelsea as a super sub. And quite frankly, when he has actually scored in these World Cup qualifying, he's come on as a sub. So if I remember right, he came on as a sub against Mexico and scored, and he came on as a sub against Honduras in this past home game, and he scored. I'm pretty sure that that's correct.
That is correct.
So, I don't. If I'm looking at the two matches against Mexico and against Panama, I completely agree with you that normally you want your best players to start. Okay, but there is an argument that if you're looking at these two matches, Mexico, the chances of us pulling a away win are very slim. Let's be honest. Every time we have these conversations, we say, "Hey, I think we're going to go to Canada and we win, we lose. I think we're going to go to Panama." And we're going to do well and we lose. We're going to go to Honduras and we're going to do well and we somehow get a comeback and won, but completely struggling. All our away games have been terrible, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going into this game tactically, you think the best result we could potentially get is a draw, right? I think that there's an argument with not starting Pulisic against Mexico, and then making sure he's 100% fresh for the must-win game in Panama. Because let's be honest, if we win against Mexico, which is very slim, and then we could pull off we would definitely feel good going into the Panama game or Costa Rica way. But if we draw or lose against Mexico, then we need to 100% have our best players healthy and fit. Pulisic is going to be going against Mexico. They're going to be hitting him, knocking him down, everything. So I'm really torn. I mean, he's not in the best form, so we have to see what happens over the course of the next month and 2 weeks. But I feel like if he's coming into the Mexico game and he's not 100% and he's not playing that well for Chelsea, I think that there's a strategy or a tactic to potentially have him come off the bench against Mexico and make sure he starts against Panama. And to be honest, if I had to choose that right now, I think I might go that path.
So, yeah, I mean, you bring up some interesting stuff there, right? I think that very legit that like they're gonna, be after him. Everybody's after him, right? I think that the one thing I really dispute that you said though, Cal, I get that we haven't performed yet, but we should. Like Canada outplayed Mexico at Mexico. They just did, right? Mexico in a bunch of other home games has not looked that good and has looked beatable by worse teams with worse talent than us. And so we have to have the expectation that we can go into Azteca and win. And I don't know, I get the proof is not there that either of the road games are going to go well. There's zero proof of that. But we have to start to develop this attitude. And I think Herdman has done a really good job with Canada of establishing culture and attitude. And it's like everything he says, like, I want to go play for him. I'm like, yeah, we shouldn't have tied this game against Canada. That should have been a win. Like, what does Berhalter say if he ties against Mexico? What does Berhalter say if he ties Mexico at the Azteca? This is a great result, Like, and it's an attitude. Everything Berhalter says, and that I feel like surrounds our team, everything we say.
But do you think it's a good result? Do you think it's a great result?
But if you talk to great coaches, it's about everything you say at all times. Messaging, what you put in your locker room, what you're saying to your players after games, before games, during practice. Like, and that's what Herdman's done a great job of. And I want us to start to have that. I want us to go, no, we're going into the Azteca and we are winning. Like, that's what's about to happen. And we are going to put our dudes on the field and you guys are going to get it done. And I don't know. I also agree. I don't feel that from, our coaching staff and our guys right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Greg said that we put more effort in against Canada whenever we lost to Canada. And I think that, that got national coverage, and you have to know the players are seeing that too. Like, we're not the only ones watching SportsCenter or whatever it was on. But, yeah, I'm definitely with you on the whole messaging from the coaching staff. And I think if Greg is saying that the guys put in a good effort in a loss, I mean, I heard the argument that was for morale reasons. Like, he didn't want them to be down for the Honduras game that was coming up right after. But I just think a lot more goes into telling the truth, just saying like, hey, I put my hand up. I didn't set these guys up for success. I could have been better putting it together, putting a better game plan in. And frankly, the players could have been better themselves, say that the players were good whenever they weren't. I just don't think that goes a long way in the locker room.
But you know what? I think that it's unfortunate for any coach. There's a balance of what you need to kind of do with your players, right? So there's the balance of him saying, hey, we're disappointed about the result, right? Because you lose. And then, you look at what your players did and you don't want to put them down. So I think, I think what Berhalter said after that game about having a dominating performance, to me, that was the dumb comment, because it's ridiculous to say you dominated a game, right? But you lost by 2 goals. I don't think that I think if he would have gone in and said, hey, my guys gave it 100, gave it their best, or gave it 100%, it it wasn't good enough. You can applaud your opponent and say, we didn't do enough. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough chances and goals. I know the team did went 100% and give it all they had, but we didn't have enough, and applauded the Canada team for picking the right tactics and whatever. Let's be honest, we still would have insulted him and we still would have said he did the wrong thing. But I think that's more of an acceptable response than saying it was a dominating performance. And that to me is an issue. But Adam, to go back to your point is, I think we all think, and we've all been saying, hey, we're going to go to Canada, we're going to go to Mexico, and we're going to win. I think as fans, we do that. But I think also we have to get to the point, also realistic expectations, right? And I think the same.
Why would our team not think they can go there and win? Like, can you just explain that to me? Why would our team not think? I get that we're fans, but why would our team not think they can? Can you?
No. I'm not talking about the team. I'm talking about us. I'm saying our expectations as fans, right?
Why would we not think that? Why would we not think we should go there and win?
I'm just saying, it's like, okay, listen, I think there's one thing saying, hey, we can, first of all, you look at the evidence. The team does not do well away. So do I want them to win? Do I think it's possible that we can win? Yes. Do I think we're going to? I don't know. The team-wise, I agree with you. Berhalter's got to go in there and tell them, hey, we've got to go into that Azteca to win. Now, that's a mentality and that's a tactical thing that Berhalter's got to tell the team. I don't know what he's telling the team, right? People go in and say, hey, guys, let's sit back and defend for the first half and then attack them the last 15 minutes. And we can pull off a draw. We can pull off a win. I don't know what his plan is.
Let's go through this real quick. Mexico has played 5 home games in the Ocho, right? Canada, draw. Jamaica, late goal and a win. Panama, late goal, 80th minute penalty and a win. Costa Rica, draw. Playing well at home. Like, I get that we're not playing well away, but they're not playing well at home.
But this is a huge game for them.
We have it in us. We have this in us. We just do. And
well, I want to see it.
Azteca and getting a win. I think there's no way we come back home against Panama and lose if we do that. I just don't. And I just think that the level of, and one, it maintains a 4-point cushion at worst. So you have a 4-point cushion going into that game, which is way different than a 2-point or 1-point cushion.
Right.
So I don't know. There's just so much. I think there's a lot on the line in the Mexico game. I wouldn't go all out in a way that I'm risking guys. And so I see that argument. There is a legit argument to say, hey,
I would play all our starters. I don't know about you, Cranks. I would play all our starters. My only doubt is Pulisic because I think that he can be useful as a super sub. And I want to ensure that he goes into the Panama game 100%. I'm just saying, over 2 matches, right? Because I do not want to go into the Costa Rica match, and that's another discussion. One needing a draw or a win or something like that is I want my starters in, and I think Pulisic can give a lot coming off the bench against Mexico, and then I want the full squad against Panama. That's all I'm saying. I don't. I want to risk everybody. I want McKennie in. I want our best guys in the stack of Cranks. What about you?
No, I want all the starters in against Mexico. I mean, if there's a game that the guys are going to get up for more than any other team, it's going to be against Mexico. But I mean, that goes both ways. Like, if there's a team Mexico's going to get up against, they're going to get up.
This is do or die for them too, guys. I mean, they're if they lose to us the 4th time in a year, and I don't know what their next match is, but dude, a loss is terrible.
Yeah, they luckily have Honduras and El Salvador after that for them. So it's like, yeah.
But one of them's away though, right?
Honduras is away.
Yeah,
so,
and fine, and they should win that game. But listen,
sets up well for them.
We got set up against Trinidad and Tobago against their C team, and we lost that game. So anything's possible in CONCACAF. True. I don't think they in their head with Tata Martino saying we have to win this fucking game. If we have to beat the US, A, because we've already lost them 3 times. B, because we're going to need to win no matter what our next 2 matches, especially if Panama wins, right? So it's going to be a battle. And you know what? Even when we beat Mexico, we never convincingly I think we beat them the most convincingly 2-0 at home. But remember, if Lozano puts that goal in against Stefan or Corona puts that volley in the first half, completely different game. And same thing with nation leagues. If that goal didn't get called, this 2-0 didn't get called back, or in Gold Cup, if whatever, if Mexico put in one of their 20 chances in the first half, all different games. And I'm not going to say they were luck, but listen, it's not going to be easy, and it's going to be very hard to pull off a win.
It's not going to be easy. I think we're all on the same page, though. Let's go get it. Like, don't. And I think Canada showed us that, where like Canada, I thought in the first window should have kind of balked the game against us. I thought they should have just like not gone all in against us and just go get the 6 points at home. And, and they went all in against us because it's an attitude. I think Herdman put his chips on the table right there. He's like, nah, we're not taking anything off. And my hope is, we've been so up and down this whole thing. Like it's been a roller coaster ride where I'm like, in the Mexico game, I'm like, yes, we figured it out. And then we like lay a stinker with a lot of our best guys against Jamaica. And then then we play, I thought we played a little bit better against El Salvador. I thought that was actually an up. We just didn't score, but I actually thought we played decent. And I was like, okay, that was a decent performance. Like, let's do that again. And then the Canada's a stinker in my eyes, right? And then Honduras is what it is. We're, it's back up. It was a good performance. So I don't know. I just want to see us, and I know it's never going to be all good and all wins. I just want to see us kind of, moving upward here in trajectory. But hey, let's jump into our next topic here. And I'm gonna start with you, Cal. Where are you deploying Gio Reyna? Because he's coming back, and there's been a lot of talk about this all over the community. Where do you feel like he fits in best, coming back into the team right now?
So first and foremost, I am so pumped he's back. He's got such class, and I saw him in his coming back, and the way he just touches the ball and his simple footwork and just his little bits of acceleration are beautiful. I think first of all, I'm not sure I would start him coming back right away. And I know that that's going to be controversial, but I feel like he's been away from the team for a while. I also look at him as a weapon coming off the bench as well. And I think for me, and from a deployment, if we think that he's not going to start, I think then it depends on how people are playing, right? So I feel like if we're playing against Mexico and Weah's having a great game, I'm not putting him in for Weah, and I'm putting him in midfield, right? However, if Musa is for some reason, or McKennie gets hurt or something like that in midfield, then I'm slotting him in there. Same thing on the left wing, but where I see him long term, I think it has to be the midfield, because I'm loving the way Weah plays at the right wing. I think the way he plays, and that he can stretch defenses. He's got so much speed on the side. He's constantly looking to cross the ball, and he's constantly looking at making runs. And Gio's not that type of player. And I feel like the type of team that the U.S. is, having a player like Weah that can do that is actually going to help the U.S., especially against more difficult opponents. And then I want to see Reyna move into the midfield. I think out of the three midfielders that we have that are starters of the MMA, I think Musa, of course, super young, same age as Reyna, is the one out of the three players with Adams McKennie who can sometimes have an off game and disappears, throughout the game. So long-term midfield, these upcoming qualifiers, I'd start him at least Mexico off the bench, and then when he does start, I'd love to see him in midfield.
Cranks, where do you have Gio? I'm not sure I've ever seen you talk about this one.
I don't normally talk about it, but it's you don't want people to attack you on Twitter for an opinion or something.
Dude, trust me, I know a little bit about that.
Yeah. Honestly, I see him where he's been playing, because he's been producing with the team still on the wing. So, and he hasn't played in the midfield yet for the national team.
Yeah.
And so I would say, the same thing with Pulisic. Like, it depends on the opponent, or it depends on the level of the game. But I would keep Gio on the wing, because in this case, you would have a guy like Tim Weah coming off the bench as a super sub if need be, or keeping a guy like Pulisic on the bench as a super sub if need be. But I think I would keep him on the wing for now. And I would definitely see midfield as an option, though, because...
Does he start against Mexico, though? Would you start him against Mexico?
No. No, I think it's too soon. I mean, the injury he came back from was like, months long. I wouldn't want to, and he got injured during the national team on the first window. So I would keep him on the bench until, I guess probably Qatar.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of it in terms of bench versus starting, a lot of that for me is going to play out over the next, what is it, month and a half, right? We have over a month.
Yeah.
And I need to see how he progresses for Dortmund, right? I mean, because there's also a world where he like comes back for Dortmund and makes a massive splash in the next month. Like he is that good. And we could start to see him like accelerating in terms of form going into the window, right? And if that happens, it's going to be really interesting because it's like, whoa, this is a guy who's playing, incredible ball at a really high level. He's in the, he could be in the best. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but like he could be in the best form of any of our guys, right? Heading into the window. That's totally possible, right? I'm not sure it happens. And if that's the case, I do want him starting, right? But if he's like, really worked in slowly with Dortmund and kind of like struggling to, gather.
Wait, who would you start him over though? If he's in his best form, who are you sitting?
Yeah, and so that kind of leads me into like where I would deploy him. So it's interesting. I've gone back and forth for a while, especially early and kind of like watching what Berhalter was trying to do with our system, playing these kind of half space wingers, kind of double tens, who, that's really the job, in kind of this modern 4-3-3 that we're trying to play, is to be in the half space and not necessarily to always make runs behind. And I really think he can do that job really well. So like that's where I kind of agree with you, Cranks. I'm like, he does that job exceptionally well. If you watch back his like reps with our team, he's played well in that spot. Like, he hasn't necessarily had like the best fit in quality with it, but he's like constantly been dangerous playing in that spot. But Way is so good right now, and like that's
he's been one of our best performers, if not. I mean, with McKennie,
he's been our. I mean, it's safe to say he's been our best player over the last 5 games, offensive player for sure. I mean, it's hard to argue anyone else has given us more in the final third, right? I think McKennie's given us probably the most overall, and certainly the most in terms of the midfield. And so attackers, final third, Way has been our best guy. McKennie's probably been our best overall player, but I think. Where Gio's really special is I think he's going to be great in either spot. Like, that's why I think he's awesome. And I do agree. Like, some people will chime in on those debates and be like, this is a pointless debate. He's great in both, playing wherever. And I'm like, yeah, actually, I kind of get that. Like, true. Right now, I would play him, say he's like killing it in terms of form. I would play him over Musa in the midfield because I really fear losing what Tim Weah. I think we've started to lean on the stuff that Tim Weah gives us to create chances. And I think you kind of saw that in the Canada game. We were like, where the hell do we go? Like, is anybody going to make these runs that Weah, makes? And I just thought it was, and I know Honduras is worse, and I know El Salvador is worse, but it was so glaring what we were missing. We had nobody creating the danger, the constant danger that Weah creates. So I'm putting Gio in the midfield. I'm starting him if his form's amazing. If his form's not great or just average, then I'm rolling out MMA with Weah up front. And we'll, put Gio as a super sub as well, which isn't a terrible option in the short term.
Well, you know what I think one of the things that we're missing is, all right, so if we look at a player like Weston McKennie, one of his weaknesses is the final ball, right? He often doesn't make the right pass, doesn't shoot when he sometimes should shoot. Even today in the game today, like there was a couple times he just needs to give the ball away a little bit quicker. Aronson, when he plays on the wing for us and not in the number 10 role that I feel he plays more often than not at Salzburg, he's better at that, right? But the guy who's the best at the final ball that we have on the team, in my opinion, is Reina, right? Because he's been dishing assists to Haaland for like 2 years. He does it every day in practice. He sees the runs. He plays, you know what I mean? He has that. And I feel like we're missing a little bit of that from Reina, as well as his kind of hard knocks attitude, right? He'll shout at people. He'll get pissed. He'll make that extra turn. He'll try a couple moves, and he can, a couple of our players will try, but Reina has like a very smooth operator move like that. But Stan, quick question. So Cranks and I said we would not start Reina. against Mexico. He comes off the bench. What about you?
I mean, right now I'm with you guys, but that's because all I've seen is, Gio Lightly coming back from an injury. So to me, that like to really figure that one out for the national team staff, that's going to have to be, hey, let's see what this next month and a half looks like. But yeah, right now, if the game were tomorrow, obviously we're not starting him. So I think that has to probably be the answer right now. He is a must start though. Like, I know Way has been good and I know Moose has been good, but he's a must start long term. Like that's where I'm at with Pulisic as well. Like I know he's not been good, but we can never ever reach our ceiling this window if Pulisic doesn't come good. If we start hiding him and going away from him, then we're never like it just put a cap on us already.
But you know something I read, and Cranks, I don't know if you saw this. Somebody was talking, and I think he was a guy from Germany, and then I saw it again. I think his name is Man Weth. He's a guy that works for Transfer Market. So in his eyes, and I saw it in another publication, around the world, there are people that feel like Pulisic isn't even a top 3 USMNT player. They think Weston's ahead of them. They think Reyna's ahead of them. They think Aaronson's ahead of them. They think Adams. And the reason is that they play more consistently for club teams, right? They're providing more impact on their club teams, and they're providing more impact on their national team. So as much as we say Pulisic is that, and that's us, and I think we've all grown to love Captain America, and also he was the standout performer last qualification. Do you still think he's getting to do you still think he merits to be a guy that we're saying no matter what, he should not start? Because I'm not saying I'm there yet, but I'm starting to easily see how there are a lot more other players that I'd rather not drop than him.
Yeah, no, I think Pulisic's definitely in a rut right now. He's not playing his best soccer right now. But I think on his day, nobody can say that they're better than Pulisic. I mean, on the U.S. national team, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, you see what he's done for Dortmund and for Chelsea. Like he scored that crazy goal against Man City where he basically ran from half field all the way, and I just think that while he's not playing good right now, you don't shut your guy out that could be the guy just because he's in a bad run of form. And so that's why I think he may not be our number one guy. I mean, I personally think Weston McKennie's he's the must-have on our team over any other player. But Pulisic is definitely in the top 3 for me that would have to – he's extremely important for this team if they want to – let's say we make it to the World Cup. Let's say we make it past the group stage in the World Cup. Pulisic's the kind of guy that could take us to the next level, past the top 16. We could go to a semifinal. We could possibly go to a quarterfinal, semifinal, top 4. But yeah, I think Pulisic is definitely one of the most important players for the team.
I think to your points, Crank, like you're talking about like what I was talking about, the ceiling, right? Our ceiling, if he is like reaching his potential, in the next 10 months, our ceiling becomes way different, right? We need a lot of things to break our way to make a semifinal, but you've seen teams similarly talented to us make a semifinal. They got to be organized. They got to get some breaks. They got to get a good draw, all that stuff. But we can't, whether it's whatever, making it out of the group or making the quarterfinal, whatever you think our ceiling is, I don't think we can reach that if Pulisic isn't Pulisic. And right now he's not Pulisic, and I agree with that. And why he is a must play for me and a must start and undroppable is because I believe the last 4 months, 5 months of his career are not who he is. They are who the current circumstances that he's in have made him. And if you do not think that he's going to recover, I totally get the take like, oh, let's drop him. Let's go another way. I have 1,000% belief he's going to recover. I think he'll start playing better for Chelsea and kind of accept his role. And then I think he's going to leave. And I think he's going to find a good spot for him. I think he's going to learn from what he kind of, did with this Chelsea move. And I think he's going to find a really good place where they're going to be all in on him. And I think starting next August, you're going to start to see him really start to fly.
If he can stay injury free.
Injury free, yeah, for sure. That's the caveat. But hey, yeah. So let's move on. And I think this third topic 3 is kind of interesting. Just we've got a striker situation. And I think the interesting thing with our striker situation is we just sold, this past window, we just sold like $40 million worth of strikers. Like the last 2 windows, we've sold like $50 million worth of strikers to Europe. And if you heard that, you'd be like, wait, you sold a $20 million striker and an $8.5 million striker and an $11 million striker, and you have a striker problem? But we do. We can't figure out who's going to play there. Our coaching staff has, I think, bizarre ideas of who should play there. We've got guys who are performing incredibly well for their club who aren't getting even a sniff. And so let's say we've got 3 striker spots for the March window. Who are we calling in? And I'll kick this one off. And I think I'm going to go, if you listen to our past episodes, I had pretty strong takes about who we should have brought in for the January window. And I think that the way I want to see the striker pool blended together is going to be similarly. I think we need a striker that you can bring in off the bench in a need a goal situation. I think you need a striker who you can bring in off the bench in hey, we need a guy who does the little things and we need to go, just lock up this 1-0 win, kind of like the end of the El Salvador game. Like, what kind of striker would I have loved to have had come in at the end of that game to secure the win? And then we need, somebody who can be like a starter, somebody who's like, this is going to be our guy and we're going to start this guy. And and this is not locked for the long term. For me, striker is the most in flux. Like 2 months, I feel like I could feel totally different about guys. And I think in a lot of ways we should be riding the hot hand. But I think Pepe and the performances that our team have put in with him, whether you point to him because of it or you don't, we are winning with Pepe and we are playing at our best with Pepe. And Pepe would be my starter right now. And I don't think that's like as locked as anything else we've talked about on this episode, but he's my starter. Sargent is a guy that I want to have on the squad for versatility, to bring in off the bench, to do a job. I think he can, even if he's not in great goal scoring form, he brings a lot of value outside of that, which is really valuable if you're up 1 or 2-0 and you want somebody to come in and help secure a win. And then, DK was my guy before he got hurt that I wanted to come in to play that kind of like, hey, need a goal, let's bring him in. I'm going to flip that to PFOC now, late in the game. And, all we're getting are some crosses in. We've had a lot of games like that, right? Where it's like all we can produce are crosses into the box. There's nobody in our pool probably better than PFOC at going and finding a goal. You saw that late in the Honduras game, going back to the Nations League. I don't think PFOC can be a guy that I personally want to play 90. He just doesn't do enough all around, but I think he can play a really big role. So those are my 3. Cal, who do you have?
Man, I have to agree. I think that the profile striker that the U.S. needs, we don't currently have. When I think about the type of player I would love to be our striker, and you're going to be like, of course, he's amazing. But I think of a player like Benzema, because Benzema is someone you can put crosses into, but he also comes outside of the box and can create shots outside of the box, right? Think about a striker like Pepe and BFOC, right? They're definitely target men. They're never going to get the ball, take it. When they're outside of the box, they're looking to pass, right, or try to get closer into the box to score goals. The closest striker we have to something like that is Sargent, right? Someone who feels comfortable getting the ball in the box on a cross, comfortable enough to get it outside of the box and move around and try to find space. The problem is his finishing isn't to an extent that, that I think a Pepe and a BFOC are. If I have a good cross into BFOC and Pepe, I feel if it's a good cross, they're going to put it in, right? When Pepe had really good chances in front of goal versus Jamaica, Honduras, a good cross, most of the time he managed to get a shot on goal. And I feel like that's the type of player BFOC is. The one chance I can really think of. I can't think of a lot of chances he had, right, that he missed. The one chance he did against Honduras and Nations League, he put away. Problem is with the type of goal creations and chance creation that our players have, unfortunately, our strikers don't get many of those chances, and that's why I would love somebody who can get the ball outside of the box and create. I'll be honest, and I think this is a controversial thing. I liked the way Jesus Ferreira played against El Salvador. His performance actually was one of the ones that was most surprising because I actually never rated him. But the way he linked up and found little paths to pass the ball, to Pulisic, exchanges with the midfield, he did that better than anyone else we had. However, and he actually, even when he made that little nifty move outside of the box and didn't finish well, I thought all those players were nice. I mean, in my head, I'm bringing Pepe, and I agree with you, Pepe 100%. I think I'm torn between Sargent and Ferreira because I feel like they both bring different and interesting things and come outside of the box. I don't think either of them are great finishers. So I'm torn between them. So I would say I'm not really sure on that second one. And then I agree, Pfalk. I think he's the hot hand. He's a good finisher. He's good on set pieces. He's someone you can come in the second half. And then the last thing I'd say, I'd love to see us play with two center forwards at some point, whether it's not in this window, but in the future. And when we take out a Pulisic, we put Aronson in a 10, or we put Reina in a 10 behind center forwards, or we put Jesus together with Pepe. That's something I would love to see. So my three are Pepe, Sargent, or Ferreira, and Pfalk. Cranks?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say you both pretty much took the answer out of my mouth. I was gonna say Pepe for sure. You know, he's like Adam said, you can't argue with how well the team has played with him on the field as opposed to other strikers that we've tried. And Pfalk, you know, like y'all both said, he's the one striker we have right now that is scoring goals regularly, and he may not be doing it in the strongest league, but a lot of people feel that way about MLS. So if Pfalk is over here putting in almost, what was it, a goal every 97 minutes or something like that, that's the kind of forward I would feel good, at the very least, coming off the bench for the national team. And honestly, whenever you said Ferreira, Paolo, I was like, man, he took my guy, you know, because I love FC Dallas, as you guys know. So Ferreira's been my guy pretty much since his dad's been on the team and he put his son in the academy. I was like, okay, Ferreira's going to be the guy. But no, Ferreira brings the biggest change of pace off the bench or starting. You know, he's the one striker that we have in the pool that he doesn't just score goals, he can create them too. So if you need a guy to drop back to make space for the Pulisics, to make space for the Weahs, Ferreira's your guy because he will help you in the build-up. He'll help you finding those passing lanes. He'll find those little spaces, those little pockets where he can get open. And then he'll release the pass to the right person. I mean, he created like 4, 5, 6 chances against El Salvador, and that was just his first start ever.
And he's not selfish. That's what I love about him. He's not selfish. He wants to connect. He's not your normal number 9 who's like, give me the ball and he's thinking first to shoot. Like he's kind of like in between, right?
Yeah.
And that's why, and I'll be honest, and I didn't know you were an FC Dallas fan until we started this conversation. I was the most surprised of him. I'm usually like, I don't like this player, and and I can never get over it, and I'll be stubborn about it. But when I saw him, I was like, why is he starting? Right? I was like, I can't believe he's starting, but whatever, it's El Salvador. But he impressed me. I mean, he didn't impress me in a finishing point of view, but he had chances, right? He had chances, and he had a little nifty move in the box, but I loved how he managed to get out of spaces. He was getting free kicks. He was moving around a lot. And again, when I saw him play and connecting with Weah and connecting with Pulisic, I was like, why not try him and Pepe? They have a connection from Dallas. Like, if we're up in a game or in a friendly, I'd love to see a 2-striker system with a Reina or an Aronson or a Pulisic in the 10 with those two guys at forward and seeing what we could do.
What's funny, Cal, is like, I think Ferreira is more of a 10. I just that when I watch him play for FC Dallas, that's kind of how he strikes me. He's maybe more of like a Thomas Mueller 10, where he's like going to be very attack oriented and like very like almost second strikerish, but like he has the skill set of a 10. And I think the way we play our wingers, you can be a 10. You can really drop into a lot of that like zone 14-ish space. And so I've never understood why Greg hasn't just given him some run there, right? Like he could still play some striker for us, but like I also think he could be a guy who like is a little bit different at the, left or right wing and like does some different things and then connects with Pepe from there. He's a really versatile soccer player. Cranks, I also didn't know you were an FC Dallas fan, but like I watch a lot of FC Dallas. Our company that I'm working for works with FC Dallas, which is kind of an interesting, thing that we're doing. And so it just made me almost a fan. One of my good buddies was the guy who was their backup third string keeper this past year. I don't know if you know how well you know the roster, and so I talked to him all the time and like I've just like really developed a kinship with FC Dallas. And then Pepe was balling this year, right? So it's kind of fun to watch him. And Ferreira was the guy that actually impressed me, even maybe more than Pepe a lot of games, where I was like, whoa, he can play. And so I was excited about Ferreira. I also was shocked he got the start over Pepe. But I'll say this is the biggest plus, right? Like a lot of people brush off chance creation. They're like, yeah, but he missed them. And I'm like, well, creating chances and getting into spots and making the right runs and connecting balls and like being in the right place at the right time, that is a skill, right? So sure, you can say, well, Pepe would have finished it or Pifak would have finished it. Would they have gotten the chance though is a legit question, because the dude clearly has a knack for creating chances. Here's my last, kind of point on striker. My biggest missed opportunity over the last 6 months is Matthew Hoppe. I think that Matthew Hoppe in the summer had a chance to really establish himself as a player for us this cycle. I think the club decision he made and how poorly that's gone, I think, really just that, I guess, has made it like impossible to really justify bringing him in. And we still haven't seen him at the 9, which I think he'd be a really interesting player at the 9. And it's just going to end up kind of being a missed opportunity for a number of reasons for me, that Greg really didn't give him a run at the 9 in the Gold Cup. And then he kind of took himself out of it with the club destination. What are your guys, takes on Hoppe? Just quick hitter.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. He was a missed opportunity there because he was probably our most dangerous player at the Gold Cup. I mean, we almost tied Jamaica in that game right before the final, I believe. And Hoppe scored that last-minute goal against Jamaica. I mean, not just the being dangerous part, he brings an attitude to the game too, which I feel like this national team totally lacks. And if you were to have a guy like Hoppe, even coming off the bench, he's gonna get the guys going. He's gonna get the guys up for whatever they need to play against. So I'm with you on Hoppe. He's definitely a missed opportunity.
I think Hoppe is a good player and he's got potential, right? He had a hat trick in the Bundesliga, and then he went through a good form through Schalke and got his transfer, and unfortunately it didn't work out. But I also feel like it's kind of hard because I don't know. I mean, he's a versatile 9, right? And he can play the wing, but I don't know if I would drop any of the wingers that we have for him, right? And I haven't seen enough of him at the US level, right? And going forward, because the thing is, a lot of players can have a consistent 6 months and have a good run of form. The number one thing is to be consistent. And I agree with you. It missed opportunity in the sense that it sucks we haven't been able to see more of him, right? But I have to think that the two jollies that we have right now, and this is what I call them, jollies, is our Sargent and Ferreira. That are two players that can kind of play the 9 if you're playing not a 9 where they're kind of moving around and trying to find spaces and connecting and linking up. And then you have your 9s that are going to be more straightforward center forwards like Pepe Zardes and Bifak. And to be honest, looking at looking at the games we come up, I'm very curious because I think he's going to call up personally. I think he's going to call up Pepe. I think he's going to call up B-Fuck because Zardes was terrible this window, and I think it's like you've got a hot hand, so let's call those two center forwards. And I think Ferreira did just enough, right, in that window, at least in my point of view. And again, and correct me if I'm wrong. He came in at the very end of the Honduras game, but I think he did just enough to merit potentially a call back. I think with Reyna's return, I think we could have thought about Sargent coming back and playing in a winger like he's playing for Norwich, but I think Berhalter's gonna call up Pepe, B-Fuck, and Ferreira. And I wouldn't be sad with that. I would only be mad if he calls up Zardes over anybody.
Yeah, I mean, like Zardes just doesn't make, like, you mean worse Pifak? Like that was like my thought on Zardes. We're calling up Zardes? You mean the worst version of worst version of Pifak, who's also out of season? Yeah. It's like so illogical. It's like the opposite of his John Brooks explanation. It was like the opposite logic. It was like Brooks is not in good form. Like the guy that's in, yeah. Anyway, hey, let's go. This is our last kind of official topic. So yesterday, I guess 2 nights ago, the USMNT official Twitter account, which gets bombarded. I've tweeted, randomly at, the universe, like, hey, let's just like stop tweeting at the USMNT account. I'm not sure it's really productive. I get it. It's like a place to put your frustration, right? Where you can't. But somebody tweeted back at them like, Greg Berhalter known more for his shoe game than winning games or something like that. Some kind of snide comment, like I'm sure there's like 100 of them a day. That's what it feels like. And I think the guy just had enough and tweeted back, basically like, hey, pretty nice shoes in his 70, or we didn't show his shoes in the 70% of, win photos or whatever it was. And it was kind of like a clap back, right? And I think a lot of people who hate the anti-Berhalter stuff were like, go admin, go admin. Yeah. And all the anti-Berhalter people, and this is the split in our community, right? All the anti-Berhalter people were like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. Like, yes, 70% wins against scrubs. Like, didn't get that one against Panama. I saw like 8,000 quote tweets, going back at him. And, it was a really interesting thing because it was a split of like, should he have done that? Is it like cool and showing good personality, right? There were a lot of different takes. Where did you guys kind of land on that, Cranks, after you tuned back into the Twitter sphere to kind of see what was going on? Where'd you land on it?
I basically just landed on the guy was probably tired of hearing all the anti-Berhalter stuff. We're talking about a guy that probably works with Berhalter in some form or fashion. So he probably knows him better than most fans would at the very least. And he's probably saying like, enough is enough. Like the guy has a good winning percentage with the team, which, if you want to lay down those stats, facts are facts. 70%'s pretty darn good. But at the same time, it came across to me as someone who just had enough, basically. And I think that it was funny. I think that it was fun. I don't think that there was a problem with it. I think that a lot of fans will come in and say like, well, we're more educated than we were in the past, so we're gonna judge coaches and we're gonna judge players and we're gonna judge them like on a game-to-game basis, and that's fine. Like everybody has their opinion. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But at the end of the day, unless we don't qualify for this World Cup, Greg isn't going anywhere. So like you can either support him and his system and his team while also giving constructive criticism or something like that. But I never understood the constant barrage of just like, get this guy out of here, #Berhalter out. It's like your voice is heard, but at the same time, they don't care because they already have their own plan in place to to have Berhalter there to get them to the World Cup.
Agreed, man. Preach, Cranks. I'm 100% with you. Listen. I get why people would be like, "Oh, I can't believe that the admin did that," but it's not even that. Like, it's nothing to have cause any sort of outrage. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? That's how I saw it. It's like they said he had a winning percentage. Whether that's, I mean, obviously it is true, but whatever, right? Who cares, right? It's like, okay, it was a little tap back or slap back or whatever. People giving him a hard time, but it's nothing to have an outrage. Like, I still don't get it in my head why anyone would be so upset that the US did that. Like, it's like, fine, it was a little tongue-in-cheek comment, but I mean, if you look at the comments, like, dude, you should get fired, you suck, you're effing stupid. Some of the big top personalities here starting like a petition to get him fired. Like, because he made a tongue-in-cheek comment, and like I didn't see I didn't see why. I can see why people would get annoyed by it, because Berhalter's tactics haven't been great. You don't like Berhalter. We should have been qualified by now. You're ruining the talent, whatever, right? But when I saw it, I was just like, oh my God, that's hilarious. Like, hilarious, not hilarious like it's so funny, but just like, that's funny that they decided to post something like that. And the other thing for me is, I think you're right, Cranks. Like, listen, my take on Berhalter has always been the same, and I stay consistent. Is he the best manager for the U.S.? No. Was he the best? Is he probably one of the only managers that was willing to take a job to coach a bunch of 20-year-olds? This is the truth. 18 to 21-year-olds, and take the risk of getting them into the World Cup. That was quite ballsy. I got to admit it, because if you didn't qualify 2 years in a row, it would be an embarrassment. It's not an easy task, regardless if this is the most talented. It's the most talented, but the least experienced team that we've ever had. So people forget that. Most talented, least experienced. And both of those things matter. So when you put them together, they weigh on you. And I've been saying this for a very long time, that, like, I think that we could be 3 or 4 points, 5 points more than where we should be if we had better tactics, strategy. But would we be winning every single match in CONCACAF with Guardiola as coach, with Jesse Marsch as coach, Ancelotti? Absolutely no way. This team is young. So listen,
But hold on. But that doesn't matter. Like, margins are everything, right? Like, I don't think anybody who actually knows the game thinks we should have won every road game. Like, I don't think that. Definitely not. I get it. You are going to drop road games, right? And you're going to tie road games.
Yeah.
That's a part of it. Like, you could look at UEFA, right? Like, good teams tied road games against way lesser opponents. Like, that's a part of World Cup qualifying. But how many are you going to drop? How many are you going to draw, right? Can you pull out any results, right, other than the Honduras game? And that, to me, that's why I still, up till now, am reserving a little bit of judgment on Greg. He's lost a lot of my trust. He's done a lot of things that have confused me, right? He's made my opinion of him go from, like, I don't know, a year ago, like, okay, jury out, let's see what the guy's got, to, like, it's not looking good. We're 3/4 of the way through the trial here, and the guy looks guilty. Like, that's kind of where I'm at right now. And but maybe not. Maybe, in this last window, we're gonna beat Mexico and Azteca. We're gonna beat Panama. We're gonna be locked up going into the last game. We're gonna play some fun. Like, that all could happen. And if that happens, like, I will be the first to tell you, we'll jump on an 11v11, and I will say Berhalter deserves credit. Because it was a bumpy road. He wasn't always perfect, but he got us there, and he got us 4 wins against Mexico. And, like, there's a world where we're saying that, which is why a part of me is just reserving judgment. I don't like what I've seen. I don't think he's the best guy for the job. I don't think he's a very good tactical coach. But at the same time, there's a job here. Get us qualified, beat Mexico.
But I think that my argument, that's his only job. I think his only job, for me, based on what these players can do at the World, that are going to be able to do at the World Cup, and the inexperienced squad that he got, he's going to be judged if we qualified, right? If he can get us to qualify, I 100% think he's had his job, because I don't think I think this team is going to play in the group stages. We'll see what they're capable of doing. I'm not sure. I think a better coach might have gotten 1 or 2 or 3 more points or something like that. Maybe even had the team play better in a few instances. But for me, if he qualifies and he gets in, he's done his job. Let's not forget that Klinsmann, who arguably, did not have this sort of talent, but more experienced player, I think, at the end of the day, got us, he still gets slack, and somehow he managed to get the U.S. out of a group with Portugal, Germany, and Ghana. And still to this day, people think he was a shit coach. So, but he managed to put us on the road to not get us to qualify. For me, that's his only job.
If Greg gets it done, then he gets it done. And whether or not it's my style or he made me feel good about it the whole way, I won't care. I really won't. I won't care at that point. Now, whether or not he should still be the coach for next cycle, that's a different conversation.
No. That's a different conversation. I'm 100% behind. He gets to the World Cup. He goes as far as he can with this team. If he can get them out of the group stage, which I think is going to be extremely hard, bearing a weak draw. For instance, if we get Ghana, Portugal, and Germany, we're not getting through. Like I would put all the money that I have that we won't. And if I lose it, I'll be happy I lost it. You know what I mean? Like
that kind of goes back to this window, though, right? Yeah. Like, so I agree with what I just said. Jury's out. He has not made me feel overly confident that what I just said is going to happen, right? I feel pretty confident we're going to qualify. I just think like logic tells me that like things have to go very wrong again for us to not qualify, which, knock on wood, I've said it before, it can happen. It's now in the air and it could happen. But I feel good we'll qualify.
Cranks, are we going to qualify?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, God.
We're going to get there, man. We're going to get there. But, hey, I want to talk about the admin thing real quick. So I cut against the grain from both of you guys. I'm not outraged by it. It's Twitter. Like, I can't be outraged about anything. But if I'm just sitting here honestly critiquing the dude's job, terrible move. Terrible move. We are a community divided already, right? We don't need our national team, coaches, players, admins, anything dividing the community more. We just don't. And it was such an obvious divisional, like it's like what politicians do, right? I'm not going to turn this into a political podcast, but like politicians have this choice, right? They can divide by what they say, or they can try and see both sides and be understanding, shut up at times, right? And this was one of the moments you just need to shut up. Like, I get you're frustrated. I get you want to support your dude. I get it. I've had some bosses I love who are getting slack from the outside or slack from, administrators in other parts of the school. And I'm like, I want to go to bat for this person. Like, this is my person, like they're doing a great job and you guys all think they're sucking. So I get that feeling, but time and place, not the time or place to when everybody's emotions are already high to do that. It's a really bad look. And I said this before we jumped on, but UNC Duke, right? Their admins before the game aren't going at somebody who doesn't want a player to start on the Duke team or UNC team, right? They're not tweeting back, this player's averaged 10 points a game over the last 5. They're going at Duke. They're going at the other team's admin. They're going at the other team's fans. And that's what I was just confused about. I don't see our admin ever showing any kind of personality by tweeting at the Mexico account or having fun in that way. Don't have fun at the expense of a bunch of fans who have legitimate gripes. Whether you agree, disagree, whether you don't think it's justified, whether you guys are angry that they have those, they have that opinion. And in all honesty, we are a soccer nation now. We're not, but we're becoming one because we have a hashtag our coach out, as does every soccer nation, as does every soccer club, right?
Yeah.
This is a part of the business, guys. Right? When Wenger out was a thing, the Arsenal Twitter account wasn't tweeting at their fans, telling them to shut up, and so that's my main issue with it, is it was very tone deaf.
But I don't know if they were saying, were they telling him to shut up?
I don't want anybody to lose their job. He shouldn't be fired. No.
But I don't feel like he was telling people to shut up. I feel like it was a tongue-in-cheek comment.
It was very clearly easy to interpret that as shut up, guys, 70% winning. That's how I interpreted it.
So, I don't know. I feel Cranks. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I think he probably. I think it was an emotional tweet, and I think that's where he messed up. And I think.
You let it get to him.
Yeah, and I think, fans like us, we probably don't care as much about a tweet like that, but there's so many people out there that do. And I think Adam has a really good point that there's a time and a place, and it was the wrong time and it was the wrong place for this one. I mean, the guy deleted the tweet after all, so something must have been said. He must have felt differently, hours
Well,
later. Whenever he
there was
deleted it.
very terrible commentary there that was getting a little bit out of control. That's also partly of the reason why they deleted the post. There's profanity and
But if you're tweeting something that elicits that response, that's not a good tweet. Whether you think people shouldn't react like that or not, he tweeted something that made people react like that, right? Like that is a bad move.
But did it merit that type of reaction, or is it the fans that have taken it out of control?
We have passionate fans. When I saw the tweet, I had seen no responses. I went, that's no good. That's no good. That's a division causer. This is going to be a thing for the next 48 hours. And I don't know, like, is that what we want? I mean, is that what we want out of our national team Twitter account right now? Like, I don't know. Like, I didn't want to see all the triple G out guys come out in full force on a tweet. Like,
I feel like that's the majority, though. I feel like what do you think the percentage is Berhalter out versus Berhalter's doing great?
Amongst very hardcore active fans, active in the Twitter community, 60 to 70% Berhalter out, like maybe 50 to 60% out, 20% wait and see, 20% Berhalter in. Like, you guys are crazy. That's my feel. What do you think, Cranks, on that? You're active on the Twitter sphere.
No, yeah, I think you're you're accurate. I would say it's 50% out, and then 25% like we want Berhalter in, and then 25% like we don't know.
Yeah. For me, it's Berhalter out in 2026, right? Leading after the World Cup, because for me, if we don't get to the World Cup, then Berhalter's out anyways, but we're not in the World Cup. That sucks. If we're in, it doesn't make sense to fire the coach, and he's not going to get fired. I mean, it would actually be unfair to him as well. Like, he took this unexperienced team, he somehow led them into a qualification spot, and he deserves the chance to now have a World Cup with these guys. Because not only that, but he gets criticized every day, and that's hard too. I mean, he's got a son and he's got a daughter and he's got kids who I'm sure are on Twitter, and they see his dad getting destroyed every single day, and he goes up, wakes up, makes his roster choices, and has to do it. So
you'll never see me hashtag Berhalter out or hashtag any coach out, because I was a professional coach for 15 years where my livelihood depended on that. And you could easily have hashtag Turnered out me many, many, many times in my coaching career. And that would have been really bad. Like, what do I do? I'm fired tomorrow.
Especially when it's not like and no one ever thinks this, right? He's purposely trying to make the team. Like, you have to think, I always give him, as much as I get pissed off, right, with his choices, and everyone does with any coach, and I do this with Italian coaches, my Serie A club. You have to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's trying to make the best decision, right? So Brooks not being called up, we give him shit for that every single day, but Brooks may have called him a MF whatever to his face. And hey, if you're a coach and someone calls you that in front of your face, do you call him back in? I wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know the story and that. So for me, listen, I think we all agree he's not going to be the guy that's going to bring us the Holy Grail and make us really, bring the best out of this talent and really have a shot at winning the World Cup. But he's the guy now. If he gets us past the finish line, he deserves a fair shot at the World Cup. We're definitely not going to make it easy for him. But, then 2026 and beyond, or after the World Cup, let's see who's there.
Hey, quick. Here's my. I thought of this metaphor. So every tweet, right, I think should have some sort of purpose if you're running some sort of professional account, right? And there is a time and place for, like, show personality, like show some humor, like, show something a little bit different. So I don't disagree with that. I don't think it should just be like a bland Twitter account that just has pictures on it, right? But I do think they have a responsibility. We have a community of diverse people with diverse viewpoints who have a lot of different opinions. And that's what we put the show together for, Cal, which is like, hey, let's bring some people on with different opinions, share them, let's respect each other while we do it. And so there's all this passion. Imagine like there's some sort of like political, division point, healthcare for all, right? Like half the country thinks healthcare for all is like, we need it. Everybody deserves healthcare. The other half is like, no, like you should have to earn healthcare or whatever the opinion is, right? And then the president's job for me, right, or a national, government agency's job, it's not to say your opinions suck, right? Or I'm going to tweet something that makes you feel lesser than, or kind of like, and even if they're being tweeted at, right? Like this is ridiculous. Like, universal healthcare absolutely should be a thing. We need it right now. It's not the president's job to say, ha ha ha, like mock you for that opinion, like, because this is what's working. That's just not their job, right? And so that was my whole thing, is I felt like it was not their role is to not poo-poo any opinion in our community. That's just not their role. Their role is to support our community. And if our community is being, doing a bad job of supporting them by the things they tweet at the account, it's still not their job, right? And so that's where I landed. Cal, you want to give us 1 minute on the shoes here before we head out?
Oh, the shoes. I'm not a shoe head. I gotta admit, I'm not a shoe head. I don't care about his shoes. I don't think I would not wear half of his shoes. My style is like very, when I go to work, I dress, pretty put together. And then when I'm at home or thing, I'm very chilled, but I'm not a sneakerhead, but, so I'm sorry, I can't comment. How about you, Craig's?
I've actually always been a shoe guy. That's kind of like one of the things I use to judge people, without even getting to know them. You look down at their shoes and it's like, what kind of shoes are they wearing? And honestly, what I have to say about Greg Berhalter, I mean, I'm not big on Nike, Air Force Ones, Jordans, or anything like that, but he obviously is. And that's cool, but how old are you? Like, you're almost 50 and you're wearing, Jordans on the sideline. And yeah, I mean, it gives something it gives a topic for us to talk about. It gives a topic for the Twitter account to talk about. And I'm sure the players talk about it with him, and the coaching and whoever probably talks about it. But that's honestly how I feel, like you're too old to be wearing these shoes. Like, just as a 50-year-old guy, like, wear some slacks, wear some dress shoes, button up tee.
Hey,
and work on your bounce pass.
Listen, Banks. Yeah. I'm almost 40 years old, and I still just want to be like the 18-year-old kid who played some ball. Like, I just do. So I got some J's in my closet, right? Like, I'm a sneaker guy. I'm a big basketball guy, so I'm a big basketball sneaker guy. I love his shoe collection. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I love his shoe collection. I love it. Totally love both of your guys' opinions on it, by the way. But love his shoes. Here's my thing, though. At a certain point, the Twitter account is a little obsessed with the shoes, right? Yeah. Like, it's a big thing, and it's constant. And it always kind of like, there is a point where you don't want to be the basketball player who has the really nice gear but can't really hoop, Like, you don't want to be that guy. And there's a little bit of that to Berhalter, where he's like putting a lot of like flash into his, into his fits and into his style. And it's like, so there's like this whole opinion of like, he's more about his shoes than his coaching. And I don't know if I fall there, but like, I get it. Like, the shoes are very front and center in this whole thing. And it's like very confusing to me. I'm like, can we chill on the shoes? Like, we tweeted that last time. We get it. He wears Jordans. Like, we're good. Anyway, hey, this was a fun one, gentlemen. I'm gonna end it here. And Cranks, man, thanks for coming on. Thanks for the service that you do for this community, man. It is much appreciated. I know it's exhausting and tiring, and I think at some point in time, I'm going to knock on wood that it doesn't happen soon. I think it's going to, you're not going to be there doing whatever 20, 40 hours of comps. And I just want you to know, I'm going to enjoy every comp up until that moment, because it is going to be a sad day if we no longer have what you're providing for the community every single day. Like, I've gotten Y Scout access, and it's been like, oh, Y Scout's amazing. Like, it's basically cranks. Like, everybody else doesn't have this though. And there's a lot of times I don't even want to log into Y Scout. I'm like, oh, he already did the work for me. So yeah, let me see that.
But I think I speak for the community saying, please don't stop anytime soon. At least get us through the World Cup.
This cycle, like, reassess after this cycle's over. See how you're feeling. Yeah. But hey, thank you, man. Thanks for coming on. You can find him at dis_possess, correct?
Correct.
On Twitter, yeah. Find him at dis_possess right on the screen there. You can find Cal at Mr. Calcio Guy, and you can find me at Stan USMNT. Appreciate it. It's been a ton of fun. Until next time, we're out.
See you guys.